Good morning. I've come out for an early morning walk for different reasons. One, I want to get some fresh air. Two, my wife's gone swimming this morning out in the sea. It's bitterly cold, so good on her. So it's a way to fill in a bit of time for me as well. And also, but mainly, I want to have some headspace to do some thinking. And it's been in my mind for a few weeks now to do a video about kind of my relationship with YouTube and where my thoughts are going with that and what I'm doing with that. It's not fully fledged thinking yet, so I think I'm just going to talk basically, and we'll see what emerges from that. This video might in the end need a bit of judicious editing. We shall see, but yeah, I want to do that. So let's carry on walking, I think, and we'll see what thoughts come to mind. I'm going to walk on a little bit, just let my mind settle a bit, enjoy the trees, the sound of the water down below, and yeah, just let some thoughts bubble up and then I'll record again. So before I get into my thoughts about my relationship with YouTube, etc., maybe a little bit of historical context setting would be helpful, appropriate. I spent most of my working life being an employee, so working for others, working for organisations, etc. And in different shapes and sizes. I'm not going to go into what I did. Only latterly did it kind of contain an element of photography, which has been a core part of my life since I was in my early teens. And so I took early retirement from that paid employee life, and at that point decided that well, it was time to see if I could fulfill a long-held ambition. I don't know if ambition is the right word, but I wanted to see if I could make something out of photography, if I could actually make money out of being a photographer. I think for a long time in my working life I was kind of wary of retirement. I could never get my head round the concept of, or the traditional concept of retirement, where you stop work and, I don't know, you go on cruises or you have some kind of nice time, or you sit quietly in a living room with the newspaper and your slippers on. I just couldn't equate to that at all, and I think in part I feared maybe lacking purpose. And I've always been a creative thinker, always been a visual kind of person, always visually driven, and with that, really, I thought, well, now's the time to see if I can do something with this photography lark. And it was reasonable, because I had the safety net. I had the safety net of my pension income, so I wasn't going to be fully reliant on earning money out of it. But it was a box I needed to tick to see if I could actually do it, because way back I had thought about photography as a career, and with the logic of a 17-year-old, thought, well, I love it. I really love it. I really love photography. If I have to rely on that for my living, it becomes work and I'll stop loving it. So with that logic, I set off and did a business degree, and I had no regrets about what I've done in life, none at all. But yeah, the kind of visual creativity has always been a thing with me, and when I was working, I was involved in a number of things that required kind of creative thinking. That was right up my street, but for me, creativity kind of comes out of different spaces. So in order for the creative things to emerge, when I was an employee, I needed to deliberately take the things I needed to be creative about, occupy my mind with something entirely different, so that those immediate things could drop down into what was basically a vast vat of my mind of various ideas, thoughts and things that are swilling around. So drop the immediate things way down, let them melt away into the subconscious, and out of that creative ideas would bubble up. And I'll come back to that theme a little bit later, but back to the context. So having taken my early retirement, I set about setting up a photography business, and for 6 years that ran very nicely, thank you very much. I focused on kind of low scale commercial photography, so working with small businesses who probably couldn't otherwise afford the kind of rates that normal commercial photography charges, and that was great. But a couple of things came together. One was the pandemic, which we got through, came out of that okay, came out of that with business, and then we were hit with the whole issue of rising energy prices, cost of living crisis, and these small businesses were suddenly seeing photography as not so much an essential as a luxury, which in the immediacy they couldn't really afford. So as a result, I saw demand dwindle, and at the same time, pretty much the same time, it was time for my wife to retire from her work. So that changed the whole dynamic as well. But I had considered that in advance, and my thought had always been that if I had a few good years doing commercial photography, which was great, really thoroughly enjoyed that, then I would turn my attention to more creative photography, so maybe fine art photography, something like that. And it was off the back of that I decided to set up my YouTube channel. Well, I've walked about maybe half a mile now since I last recorded, and I thought I'd pause here and just talk about what's emerged from the basement of my brain, where I've let my conscious thoughts just drop down there, and I've concentrated on enjoying the sights and sounds of the morning. And the thought bubbled up to the top of my head. I think my relationship with YouTube is maybe a little bit conflicted. On the one hand, when you look at various other people on YouTube and channels that are successful and so on, they post a lot, they post frequently, and that seems to be the way to build an audience, to build a following. And for me, when I set up the channel, I wanted to kind of use it as a vehicle for my creative photography mostly. And therein lies the conflict, because, as I said earlier, my creativity comes out of the subconscious, really. It comes out of not working with my conscious mind in terms of what I'm working on. That's, for me, that's doing something that's been the result of a creative thinking process. So if I commit to posting regularly on YouTube, I'm not going to be very creative, because it then becomes a job, it becomes a function, it becomes what I need to be doing, and there's only so much that I can say without repeating myself before I need to be creative again. So the question is, how do I go forward with this? And I think I'm going to be relaxed about not posting frequently. I think I'd rather put up content where I feel satisfied with it. I feel that it's been the result of something creative, and where I can, I think I'll take videos behind the creative process. That's not actually going to take you into the basement of my brain where these ideas melt around and eventually something pops out, but rather maybe explain the process behind something creative that I've done. But I think in terms of pursuing popularity, I think that's not where I'm going to be with this. So way back in my student days, and this was kind of a reaction to the propensity at the time for very loud music. My reaction to that was to say that volume is no substitute for quality. And through a good friend of mine, we got a couple of badges made up with that logo on it. Volume is no substitute for quality. It's a maxim I've carried with me ever since, and I remember once having a conversation with a colleague of mine who was an economist, and I said to him, I don't think there are any exceptions for this. To which he said, well, I can give you one straight away. I said, oh, what's that? He said, hard cash. I don't care what quality it is, but plenty of it outweighs the quality of the paper. So yeah, so I've got to concede that one. But I think that's the approach I'll try to take into my YouTube channel, is the idea maybe that less is more, that some good creativity, hopefully, when that comes along, shows its head, gives me something I can post up, and maybe in the interim I'll do maybe little things like this, we'll see. But let me know in the comments what you think, whether you think I'm onto the right approach here, whether you think it would be good just to post interim things, or whether you think I should expand and do more and give more insights into what I'm doing in life. Yeah, be interesting to know what you think. But I think for now we'll call it there. I think I've managed to express everything that was bubbling away in the basement. It's found its way to the surface, it's come out, and we'll see what sense we can make of it in editing. So thank you once again for watching. Thanks for being part of this. If you've liked it, do give it a thumbs up, do consider subscribing, and if you do that, click the bell icon so that you'll be notified as and when I have something creative that's popped up and you might want to have a look at it. So thanks again, be good to yourself, and I'll see you in the next one. So I thought I need a little postscript to this video. Just walking home, I was pondering on my desire to prioritise quality over quantity, and realised I might be setting myself up there, because people might have a different view on what is quality. So I just thought I'd say a little bit about that. I think for me there are two aspects to it in this area. One is technical quality, and I would hope to get that mostly right. I've been doing photography for a long time, so hopefully the technical stuff is reasonably under control. And then after that, it's aesthetic quality, and I think particularly in the realm of the visual arts, quality, like beauty, is in the eye of the beholder, and what one person sees as quality, another won't. So I'm not inviting value judgments, but you know, you'll make those anyway. If you don't like what I'm doing, you won't watch. So so that's fine, and neither of us is wrong in that instance. So provided I keep the technical errors out of the way, and who knows, one or two may creep in here and there, they inevitably do. By and large, we'll be clean technically, and thereafter it's a case of what I think is good quality visually, aesthetically, I'll put up, and yeah, we'll go from there. So yeah, and yeah, one final thought. People getting into photography, doing photography, if you're thinking of a career in photography or whatever, or just working away with photography for your own pleasure, don't be afraid of failure, but beyond that, actually embrace failure, because that's where we learn. When we make mistakes, those are the areas in which we learn. So with that, I'll sign off until the next time. See you then.